Ugh. Go away, I'm sleeping.
Mr. Branson, there's someone here to see you.
Who is it?
Logan.
Rob, where have you been? You told me you were committing to making a new video every week.
Logan, for the last time, my name is not Robert.
That doesn't answer my question.
There was a mix-up at the pharmacy, and I was without meds for a week. Anyways, you wouldn't come here just to check on me.
You'd be surprised.
Enlighten me.
I found you a guy.
Give the info to Lambert, he'll see you out. I have a video to make.
Hey, one last thing. Use a clickbaity title. You need the views.
Like you would know.
Is atheism a religion?
Well, let's see. Atheism means you don't believe that there are gods. It's really as simple as that. Atheists don't believe evolution. Atheists don't believe the universe is 13.8 billion years old or that the Big Bang happened. Atheists just don't believe that there's a god or gods. Now, many people who are atheists also believe evolution, and the universe being 13.8 billion years old, and that the Big Bang happened. But an atheist could also believe that DNA doesn't exist, the universe started last Thursday, and the universe is actually a snow globe that was created when a tornado went through an alien junkyard. As long as someone doesn't believe the claim that a god or gods exist, they are an atheist. Alright, so that's what atheism is. What about religion? Religion, the belief in and worship of a superhuman controlling power, especially a personal god or gods. Well, atheism doesn't involve any worship of anything. An atheist might worship something, but atheism itself doesn't involve worship. And you can interpret superhuman controlling power in a few different ways. A god is a superhuman controlling power, but if a bodybuilder has me locked up in his basement, I would also call that a superhuman controlling power. Either way, atheism doesn't fit the first definition. How about a particular system of faith and worship? Once again, atheism doesn't involve the worship of anything, nor does it involve faith. Someone who's an atheist might be an atheist on faith, but atheism itself does not involve faith at all. Finally, a pursuit or interest to which someone ascribes supreme importance. This definition includes a lot of things that are generally assumed to not be religions. For example, I have an interest in not being raped, and I feel that not being raped is very important. The example sentence proves my point quite well. Consumerism is the new religion. And not only is this definition too broad, but not believing in the god or gods is not a pursuit nor an interest, and I really don't think that it's that important. I mean, I might talk about it a lot, and it's definitely a part of who I am, but I don't think that it's supremely important that I don't believe in a god or gods.
Let's not look at atheism from a superficial point of view, but let's go deep into this belief system.
Atheism is not a belief system. It is a response to a belief.
Yes, it is said that atheism is a lack of belief in gods or a god, but when you look deeply into atheism, and when you speak to atheists, you begin to see that atheism isn't just a lack of belief in gods, but there is more to it.
Technically, atheism is a lack of belief in a god or gods. However, I can see how this can be very frustrating for theists. It's fairly obvious that anyone with a brain that doesn't accept the claim that gods exist will believe that gods don't exist. Now, just like evolution, the age of the universe, and the Big Bang, atheism doesn't technically involve believing that gods don't exist, and no, that's stupid. It'd be impossible for an atheist to believe in a god because atheists don't believe that a god exists. But there is actually a difference between not believing something is true and believing something is not true. The usual example goes something like this. There's a jar of jelly beans, and there's a contest to guess the number of jelly beans in the jar. Billy says, I believe that there are an odd number of jelly beans in the jar. Susie says, I don't believe that there are an odd number of jelly beans in the jar. Then Billy says, oh, so you believe that there are an even number of jelly beans in the jar. Then Susie says, no, I don't believe that it is even or that it is odd. There are definitely either an odd or an even number of jelly beans, but I don't believe for sure either way. Then Billy yells, heretic! And burns Susie at the stake.
You find that when you make comparisons between atheism and religion, that there are certain similarities.
When I was a kid, going to a Christian elementary school, I was taught that to worship something means to make it the most important thing in your life. Good Christians make God the most important thing in their life, but other people make money and fame the most important thing in their life, and so worship money and fame. A lot of words were defined incorrectly back then. Belief was a synonym for worship, as in unbelievers believe in money and fame. Cult meant any religion except for Christianity, and knowing someone meant having sex with them.
For example, in every religion, there are either gods or a god who is worshipped. And the atheist worships two kinds of gods.
What? Two kinds of gods?
For the atheist, the first thing that they worship is the god of self.
I usually try not to think too highly of myself, what with being a tiny speck on a tiny speck in a group of more tiny specks. If anything, I'm more humble than a Christian who says that God created this entire universe just for humans. And saying that I'm more humble than a Christian does not make me less humble, just like the writer of Numbers 12 verse 13.
And secondly, the atheist worships the animals as gods.
Oh, I worship animals as gods. Well, thanks for letting me know. I don't ever remember doing that.
In the mind of an atheist, the atheist at his core does not want to be morally or spiritually accountable to anyone, especially to God.
Well, sometimes they might be really mad and want to stab someone. Other times they might be really aroused and want to know someone without their permission. But I don't do these things because I'm morally accountable to myself, not to mention the government. As for spiritually accountable, what does that mean? As far as I can tell, spirituality doesn't really mean anything, but Christians hear it a lot, and so when someone says it in defense of Christianity, they nod their heads and agree. Maybe I'm wrong, but it seems to be the same thing as the word soul. Some people think that it's our personality, some people think it gives us free will, some people think it can travel between dimensions, and other people think that it's a connection to God, whatever that means. The ambiguity of these words is what lets New Age hippies use them and have it make any sense whatsoever.
An atheist would like to commit adultery, fornication, or any kind of sin without the sense that there is a God who is not pleased with sin. And so ultimately, the atheist exalts self above God. And so in the life of the atheist is the God.
Alright, first of all, yes, I would like to commit adultery and fornication. It's not my fault that puberty exists. And I do exalt myself above God, since I don't believe that there is a God. But I definitely do not think that I am a God.
I've often asked atheists this question as a test. If you were given the evidence that you need as proof that God exists, then would you submit and worship God?
No, I would not submit and worship God. If I was given the evidence that proves that God exists, then I would believe that God exists, and then I would submit this evidence to every scientific journal in the world. It seems like you're confusing the word worship with the word believe, as my elementary school teachers did. In my opinion, the God of the Bible is not someone who deserves respect. He created humans knowing that they would disobey him. He let it happen, then as punishment, he kicked them out of paradise. Eventually, he comes back and reveals himself in the middle of a desert where most people are illiterate. 4,000 years later, he becomes a human and arranges for the capture and killing of himself to appease himself. He fails miserably and leaves behind very little evidence, if any at all, that this actually happened. If I worship him, then after I die, I get to go to heaven, where I will worship him forever. And if I don't worship him while I'm still here on earth, I get sent to hell to be tortured forever. Even if he does exist, he is not worthy of praise.
And very often, most atheists would refuse to worship God, even if given the evidence.
And that is their right to do so. I live in America, where I don't have to worship a dictator.
So atheism isn't so much about the lack of belief in God or gods, but atheism is really the suppression of the existence of God.
What? Where did that come from? Atheism is not about the suppression of the existence of God. Like I said, if I was given proof, I would share that proof everywhere. Knowing that a God exists would be the greatest scientific discovery of all time. I'd want everyone to know it. But I would not worship the God of the Bible.
Romans 1 verse 21 to 23 says, "For though they knew God..."
I thought God was perfect. I didn't realize he was an adulterer.
"They did not honor him as God or give thanks to him, but they became futile in their thinking, and their foolish hearts were darkened. Claiming to be wise, they became fools and exchanged the glory of the immortal God for images resembling mortal man and birds and animals and creeping things.
I don't care what your book says. No, I do not worship any human, bird, animal, or creeping thing. This video is clearly meant for Christians to reinforce their own beliefs rather than to convince atheists of anything.
This brings us to the other gods that atheists worship. They worship the animals, as stated in Romans 1 verse 23.
No, I don't, as stated in line 74 of this script.
Most religions have people who worship God or gods whom they believe to be the source of life and the reason for their human existence. For example, in Christianity, we believe that the source of life, the source of our human existence, is through the hands of the God of the Bible.
True, most religions have a god or gods who created the universe and created life. This is because these religions were created before we actually knew how the universe began and how life started.
Genesis chapter 1 verse 27 says, "So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him, male and female, he created them." However, with atheism, the source of human existence is not God, but according to atheists, the source of human existence are the other animals, with the theory of evolution being the main doctrine.
Well, you could put it that way, but the animals being the source of human existence is a very different concept from the all-knowing, all-powerful, all-good being that is outside space and time. The animals didn't create humans. Humans are animals, just a very smart variety. And the theory of evolution is not a doctrine. If someone proved that evolution was false, then scientists would stop believing it. The problem with doing that is that evolution has so much evidence in favor of it that it would take some serious work to disprove.
And this is another reason why atheism is a religion.
No, it's not.
Most religions have a set of beliefs. Most religions have a doctrine about life and the origin of life, for which it takes faith to believe in that doctrine.
Evolution is not a doctrine, and it does not take faith to believe it.
The truth is, evolution cannot be proved. There is no observable evidence for evolution.
Yes, there is. Antibiotic-resistant bacteria are a big one that's starting to affect our lives.
There is no scientific evidence for the origin of life in relation to the Big Bang.
Sure hope that there's no evidence for the origin of life in relation to the Big Bang, since the Big Bang and the origin of life are around 10 billion years apart and are completely different processes.
Therefore, atheism requires faith, just like many religions.
No, definitely not. Even if evolution couldn't be proven, evolution is not atheism.
So is atheism a religion? Yes, it is. Amen.
Nope, definitely not. Sorry for missing a week. I was prescribed a new ADHD med, and the pharmacy took a while to get it. I was planning to give myself another week to get back into the swing of things, but I ended up writing the script on Friday, which gave me a whole day to record, edit, and upload, which is way more time than I need. Follow me on Minds. Link is in the description, along with the link to the original video. Stay tuned. Next Sunday will be a Christmas Eve special of sorts. See you then.